I'm nervous, my heart is pounding. Eggsy and I have set the stage. Are you ready? Volume up. Get off your chairs, your couches, because you are all going to do an interpretive dance with us on how you would get rid of the gremlins. So I need to just get the song going. Let's hope it all works as planned. Okay. This is also one of Mr. Henry's songs, by the way. Okay, we're ready. Okay, we're ready, Eggsy. 1, 2, 3.
The gecko waiting for the rain, neath the shade of fallen log. Watching bees in a knot above, starting slow and high.
Okay, let's do Eggsy a joint one. We're gonna go ready.
The panting of the land.
Come on, Eggsy.
Falls overhead, it burns before it is. He turns his eye to the dry cracked mud where the bones of catfish he tastes the heat of summer's wrath. The afternoon drifts slowly by, the harsh grass softens with dust. The gecko steps into the twilight, hunting for
No, come back! Okay, we're out. I'm done. I'm stopping the music in a moment. Whew! Right, plugging myself back in. Eggsy's climbing into the car. It's exhausting. I don't know if I'm tired because of dancing around or because my heart feels like it's about to jump out of my throat because I do the most ridiculous things. Well, that can always come back to haunt me later on in the day. My mother's going to die when she sees that. Right, let's get back in. Thank you, Eggsy. I'm also glad whew, that no vehicles came past. No, and it's not poor Eggsy for being dragged into it. I mentioned it and he quite happily joined me. He loved it, hey Eggsy? I don't know if you know this about Eggsy, but he actually used to be a contemporary dancer. No, he wasn't. Let me turn the speaker off. Right. But yes, there we go. So that was our interpretive dance on how to get rid of gremlins with Mr. James Henry's song. It's called The Birds and the Bees. But I'll tell you exactly what it's called. The Gecko, the Bees, the Earth and Me. It's still playing. Sorry, as much as we love your music, James, we can't keep listening to it now. Right, we've got to work. Back to work, Eggsy. Fun's over. Right. Who are we going to find over here now? Which animals have we not chased away? I hope you enjoyed that as I just die of embarrassment now. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm a bit disappointed in James that he didn't want to join in either. Maybe we'll just have to go and find him and force him into a situation. I found that that's the best way, is peer pressure to get James to do anything. Right. Off we go in search of elephants. I think we're going to go to Chitwa Dam now. What do you think, Eggsy? Eggsy's never been to Chitwa Dam. Can you believe that? So we're definitely going to go there. But let's start our way. We're not too far. We're just about to go through the Mulwati. And then it's about another 150 meters before we turn into Chitwa itself. So that's going to be really exciting for Eggsy, and I think because it's been such a nice day, there's a bit of a breeze at the moment. We're possibly going to get some nice interaction with the hippos. Hopefully they're not far away. Hopefully they're right on the edge of the island that we saw them the other afternoon and the other morning. That would be ideal. Right. Oh my goodness. And speaking of the man himself who makes great music and, well, gets us all to giggle at times and seems to issue me the most ridiculous challenges, let's go across to him with one of the most common antelope that we see in Africa.
That is a great compliment that Taylor paid me there. And, well, I'm not sure that I've ever met somebody who's such a good sport about being set ridiculous challenges. She takes them up every time. Well done, Taylor. Thank you for the free publicity. There are some impala just over here. We're going to see if we can't get close to them. And while we do that, I'm going to tell you that we have given up on Shadow's tracks. There are no tracks in this drainage line that we've walked. We've walked the entirety of it. We didn't find one track. So Herbie, combined with the evidence that Tristan is looking at now, thinks that she's probably still definitely, that is beautiful English. She's probably still in the drainage line to the western side of the main road there, and therefore inside Arathusa. So I don't think we're going to find her now, but maybe we'll be lucky on our little southern boundary patrol and find the royal family coming this side. The rut. It's wonderful. The rut has begun. So the great desire to mate is starting to overwhelm the impala. We'll see if we can get a view of that. Bobby, you're wondering about the pouch attached to my belt. This is a sock. It's filled with ash, and what it does is it tells me which way the wind's blowing, and that's important when you're tracking something. Or do you mean my bum bag? Well, it's not a bum bag today, Louise. Today it is a very stylish shoulder bag. No, not like a handbag a woman may carry, Louise. You insulting bat. It's my camera bag. See? I bought it on Amazon. See? See how fancy I am? Very good. Okay, let's go and see if we can find some impala that are doing their rutting. I haven't managed to take a picture of anything. In fact, this is the first time I've ever tried to take it out of this bag while on foot. It's not very easy. There we go. Louise, I object to you calling my very stylish bush pouch a man bag. It's not a man bag, it's a camera bag that I carry. And I can put my phone in it, I can put my knife in it, I can put some first aid stuff in it, I can put batteries for my camera, and I can put snacks if I wanted to eat them. Louise now says you can put your lipstick, your cosmetic mirror. Yes, I suppose I could, Louise, if I wore lipstick or used a cosmetic mirror. Right, let's head along here and see if we can't find these rutting impala. I was saying right here 3 days ago, I said just now, these males that are so friendly with each other at the moment are very soon going to become unfriendly, and I think that's just starting to begin now. We'll just go around the corner. We're going to try and keep our distance, because obviously if they see us, they will not want to be around us anymore, and they will disappear. And I must just say, it's something of a relief to be out of the very thick bush, because, well, we've had to walk through some pretty thick stuff. Okay. Let's just walk down here. Keep an eye out here. Don't let me down, Impala, please. I really would like to show our viewers at least one mammal on this drive, other than just grass. I don't think they're there. That's very sad. Oh well. Here are their tracks. Let's have a look at their tracks. Here are the impala tracks. Moving along the road, substantially larger than the female tracks. These are definitely rams, and these are big adult rams, I think. And also, oh, look here. Come and look at the difference here. What we have here are warthog tracks. Can you see that? See how square they are in comparison with the sharply pointed impala track here that I'm pointing out now. And then there's a very square, that's a young warthog, 2 young warthogs. Can you see that, Dave? And that's probably their mum walking near or behind them. Very cool. Now, from absolute nonsense here in the setting sun, Taylor has got something which sounds quite spectacular.
We've just arrived at Chitwa Dam, and James, I'm hoping it's going to get even more spectacular than this, but we have a fish eagle on the ground, which is something that you actually don't see very often. They're normally either flying or perched up on a tree. So I suspect that the fish eagle has come down because perhaps it was eating a fish. There are many, many catfish in this dam, which you saw with Brent about a week or 2 weeks ago now. We're making their escape sort of from the dam to the little, floating crocodile incoming. Well spotted, Louise. I'm too busy looking at the fish eagle, and I genuinely did think that that was a log swimming in the background. But how cool is that? This is the big croc. I think this is Vladimir, the bigger one. Boris is not quite as large as Vladimir, but let's see if it's going to come out maybe into this little wetland area. Now, we actually saw this particular croc the other morning. It was just resting up near one of the rooms, you may remember, just enjoying the sun. But it is rather large. And I just have to apologize. Every now and then you may see, of course, the camera bouncing around a bit. We're fully zoomed in, but also it's quite windy down here at the dam today. So just the slightest movement moves the camera around. But look how long he is. You get that? You can just sort of see those ridges on his back and all the way down his tail. There's a water thickener also hiding on that branch. Let's see where he's going to come out. He's just going past this tree, but I think he's going to come past. Let's see. Oh, I can't see him just yet. Come on, crocodile. There he goes. Oh, he's going past and underneath and behind another shrub. So he's going in between the two islands. And it looks like he's stopped just for the moment. I think he's actually climbing out of the water now. He is too. Eggsy, let's reposition. Let's see if we can actually get a visual of him on the dam wall. What we'll do is we'll just change it up, because you're quite a distance away from him now too. So I don't think this crocodile will even realize that we're here. If you give them enough space, they're normally relaxed enough and they just sort of sit in the same. Let's just see if we can spot him. I think we are going to have to go up to the top. Hey Eggsy, what do you think? Should we have another, just see if we can see him? I'm not going to switch off the engine. We're just going to look in between the tree with the weaver's nests. He's gone up there somewhere. Actually, let me switch it off so we can have a look. Just do a quick scan.
Now, I'm sorry about that, everybody. You know how it goes every so often out here. We've got another track here, and I was just thinking as we were walking along the road, because we are starting to have to make a bit of a move towards quarantine clearing. That is a lion's track. It's a lioness. And she was walking along here, and I thought to myself, you know what? Imagine you were an early settler, and you came into this area, or you were walking along this road or along a game path for the first time, and you found that track there. You didn't know what occurred in this area, and there are many stories about these sorts of things where you find tracks like this. Can you imagine how terrified you'd be if you realized that that thing belonged to some kind of carnivore, which you would almost certainly realize? You'd think, good grief, do I really want to be here? You'd be convinced that you were going to be eaten. And luckily, or if you were very lucky, you'd have someone like Herbert to tell you, no, fear not, you will not be eaten. And there are wonderful stories of people landing in this country or being marooned, shipwrecked on the coasts. And they describe how wolves came down to their camps and took away all their things. And of course, they weren't wolves. There never have been wolves in this country. They were hyenas, almost certainly. They were coming down and scavenging off the early settlers because they didn't know how to deal with hyenas at that stage. Anyway, we're going to try and find you something interesting biological as we walk along the road good at quite a speed because we do need to make it back towards quarantine clearings at this stage. We've probably got about half an hour left of usable light. I'm very surprised we haven't seen an elephant this afternoon. I thought we would definitely have at least one nice elephant on foot sighting. Unfortunately, we haven't had that. What we can do, however, I have shown you this, but not perhaps at the same scale. This is Vernonia.
Beautiful with the sunset.
Is it lovely with the sunset? Very good, David. That is Vernonia. And Vernonia, I've been discovering lately, is used very extensively, especially in Botswana, for various complaints of the urinary tract. Now, they can be anything from kidney problems to erectile dysfunction to fertility issues with the women to I think it's even used as some kind of contraceptive, various parts of the plant that you use. And in fact, the most amusing one was mixing some dried plant in porridge. That was very good for erectile dysfunction, apparently. Good. Now, one more thing quickly here. A butterfly. Ooh, sorry, Louise, can I quickly do this? Or do you want to go back to Taylor? Let's quickly. Over here, as this temperature starts to drop, a beautiful acria on top of Kyphocarpa augustifolia, or the hare's tail plant. Isn't that lovely? And very nice in the sunset there. Good. Let's head across to Taylor. She's found some signal, and one of either Vladimir the Impala or Boris the Johnson.
Sorry about our little disappearance earlier. Obviously, our dance didn't work very well, but Eggsy and I will get on it and practice this evening. But we've managed to locate the crocodile. He climbed over the bank and then went back into the water. You can see just his eyes and his nose sticking out there. And the reason why I think that it's not Boris and I think it's Vladimir is just because of the size difference. We've obviously been quite lucky and we've been able to get quite close to Boris. However, Boris I don't think is the oldest crocodile. Vladimir, when we saw him out in the open the other morning, and even just as he was swimming in the water a moment ago, you could clearly see he's well over 3 meters in length. He's quite big. And from when we saw him out on the bank as well, he's got, well, quite a large body too. So it's very, very nice to see that he's doing well. Now, I actually bumped into the owner of Chitwa a moment ago, and he said that he was driving around and he'd seen that this crocodile was eating something out on the bank. So he said he gobbled up whatever he was eating and then went back into the water. So I wonder if there just weren't a couple of catfish that unfortunately wandered too far out of the water, trying to get to a new spot. And, well, the fish between the fish eagle and I think Vladimir, they've had a delicious treat. But crocodiles don't have to eat all the time, which is quite amazing. But when there is food available, they're not going to say no. They will munch away on any carcasses. If a catfish gets too close, they will eat them too. But he's beautiful. And I don't think he's quite as big as a crocodile can get, though. The sizes of crocodiles in this particular area, I think, change slightly sort of further north in Africa, because in Zambia, I saw crocodiles, the average size of a crocodile was about 4 meters, and we saw some really massive ones that were just over 5 meters, and I reckon they probably weighed about almost 700-800 kilograms. So we're massive crocs, but a crocodile like Vladimir, probably not more than about 400 kilograms, somewhere around there. Like I said, I don't think he's potentially reached his full weight. Now, Bill, you were wondering how long can a crocodile live for? It depends. In captivity, they can live for many, many, many years. But I would say, because of the stress of life out here, I don't think crocodiles live for more than between about 50 and 60 years out in the wild. They can definitely and most certainly live for much longer periods in captivity. If you've ever been to a crocodile farm or just even read any information about them, there's some crocodiles that live for ages and ages. Not quite as long as a tortoise, though. I think the leopard tortoises could outlive a crocodile. But it's not just, of course, the crocodile. Look at the hippo doing a beautiful big display. That's a big bull. Oh, wonderful old chap. Now, unfortunately, the hippos are not quite close to us like we've been lucky to see in the other days. They're actually quite a distance away, which is a bit sad, but at least it's not too far away for our camera. And the hippos always start doing this. They're starting to call now too. Just as the sun gets down, they start to get very active, displaying, opening their mouths, sort of. That's normally a threat display, but I don't think he was doing it as a threat display in that case. Sometimes I suppose it's also just quite nice to give a big yawn, a hippo yawn. He still looks like he's sleeping a little bit. Eyes are closed now. Just a quick nap. Not quite ready to come out of the water yet. And that's a sighting that I'm dying to have, is to be sitting here at Chitwa Dam and watching the hippos all waddle out of the water one by one to go about their day or their evening of grazing. That to me is a really amazing thing to see, or even to see a hippo charging out from land and into the water, because I'd love for you to see the wake that they can create. And I know I've been talking about it lots, but it is so spectacular, and I'm just dying to show you. And hopefully one of these days, and one of these hippos will do it for us. I can promise you right now, your jaw will hit the floor when you see what a hippo looks like at full tilt, running towards the water. It's definitely something that makes your heart race. Not quite the nerves that I was feeling when I was trying to do my gremlin dance. These are actually proper nerves, and it sort of gives me the heebie-jeebies when I see something like that. It just goes to show how powerful nature really is. Now I think I can see the rest of the pod, but they're very far away. Eggsy, can you see them down there? There we go. There's the other pod. Let's have a look at them, because this is, I think, the group of the females. Yes, they're the little ones, the females and the little ones, now splashing about. You can see that it must be a tiny little island there, because there's little reeds that are poking from out of the water. Now, we are very far away, but let's see. We may get lucky and see a bit of porpoising and splashing about from our two favorite calves. And you can also just see the lodge in the background. Come on, chaps. You look like you want to play. Yes, I think they're getting to that point. Here we go. Hello, little ones, you're so funny. And again, it's like when we watch the lions and leopards. It's so important for these little ones to fight about and practice. There might be two young bulls. There we go. Because one day, when they're big and strong, and if they are young males, it'll not be fun and games anymore. They won't just be gumming each other. It'll actually turn into something quite dangerous. If any of you have ever seen hippo bulls fighting before, it is not a pleasant sight to see the sounds that they make. And that was something that was always quite astounding that we'd hear almost every single night in Zambia, is the males fighting. I actually think I have an audio. While you watch these two hippos play, I'm going to quickly just search under my recorded audio, because I think I have the sound of what two male hippos sound like when they fight. Now, where do I find that? There we go. Let's see. No, I've just got to find it. I think we'll have to do this while we're off air, because I haven't seemed to have named it. No, maybe it's a video. I think it's actually a video. We'll keep searching, but I'll keep looking for this when we're off air. Can you have a listen? The hippos are calling now. Let's see if they continue calling. Every time I start to say one word, they then decide to call, and then they keep quiet again. Isn't that so typical of hippos, or anything? It's the same thing happens with the birds. I'm just also searching as we sit here, because I really, really want you to hear the sound. It sounds like dinosaurs. So we're going to hang around over here for a little bit. I can see the hippos are slowly edging closer to the edge of the bank. But I'm going to send you across to Tristan now, who's picked up signal, and he's got a kudu bull.
Indeed we have. So unfortunately our shadow tracking exercise has run into a technical problem, because where the tracks go, we don't have reception, and also it goes into a very dense thick block. So there's no way that we can follow any further. It's also getting quite dark. But we have come across this ever so elegant kudu bull that's on top of this termite mound in this late afternoon sun, and he looks absolutely spectacular up there. It's a pity that there's a few trees around him, because it would really be the complete picture if he was just completely isolated on that termite mound. But he is a stunning example of a kudu, and this is why I love them. These male kudu just look so impressive and so elegant with those big twirled horns that come off the top of the head. They really are quite spectacular. Now, those horns there are quite something. They're quite large, and you can see they've twisted their third turn. Interesting, there's lots of flies on the tips of them. I wonder why that is. It's the first time I've actually ever noticed lots of flies on kudu horns, but you can see that they've gone through their third turn now. So this is a fully grown adult, but the record length for a set of horns on a kudu is 6'2". Now that is the height that I am, so it's like me standing on top of their head. Can you imagine how big that must be? That must have been such an impressive animal. Those horns there are probably no bigger than 3.5 feet, 4 feet. So to have 6'2" horns is quite amazing. They won't be exactly straight because they measure along the curves, so the wider it goes, also the more length will add to it, and the spirals get counted in that length, so they run a tape around the spiral and to the top. But that is an absolutely incredible specimen, and look at those massive ears. And isn't he being very good to us? Generally kudus are so skittish and shy that they run off as soon as you stop anywhere near them, but he's decided to give us a real good pose and let us see all those beautiful markings on the face, those whites around the eyes that just help bring light in the shadowy areas that kudu inhabit, and the little white markings on the lips and face that just help break up the outline. And if you look on the side of his neck there, you can see, look at the bulging muscle that is coming out. In kudu, it's very noticeable because of the size of their horns. They develop these massive neck muscles to be able to keep those horns up, and often when they turn like that, that muscle just bulges out, and you get these really big, thick neck and shoulders that you see there. And isn't he looking in good condition as well? It's amazing how these animals have recovered. We saw those buffalo earlier today, and I was saying to VM, it's amazing how much better they look than a few months ago, and the kudu are the same, because kudu are one of the ones that do suffer heavily in drought. Their numbers tend to decrease in drought periods because they really can't find enough food. But this guy is in really fabulous condition. He's got beautiful amount of meat on him, and he's looking very, very good. Oh, little oxpecker. Debbie in Vancouver. Well, I would imagine it's a little bit cooler there than it is here, Debbie, but you're wondering about seasonal changes. So we are going to start getting colder. Already that summer scorching sun seems to have disappeared. It started to get a little bit cooler. There's a colder wind that's blowing. Our days get shorter, and because of the days getting shorter and the cooler conditions that we get, the plants begin to start dying. So what we're going to see is the whole bush is going to change color. It's all going to become a very drab brown and khaki color. The grass is going to become very, very light and very little nutrition, and over the winter period, so the animals are going to exhaust the resources and stamp all the grass down. The grass is also going to die off a little bit, so all these seeded stems that we see coming off die off, and we get this very short layer of grass through the winter, and a lot of the trees will lose their leaves. So it's going to be a very different landscape than what you see now. And I'm not sure if you've been watching for a while, Debbie, but if you have, you would have seen in September, November, October, November last year, we were at the end of that drought, and the stark contrast to what we're seeing now is quite incredible. The funny thing is, though, is that even though we've had all this rain, and it looks like the grass is really long and that we've got a lot more grass coming back, it's actually not that thick. So I was looking today, the clumps of grass are quite widespread apart. So once we go into winter, we're actually going to get a very similar effect to what we had last year with the drought. We're going to get a situation where it's going to look very, very barren this winter. There's really hasn't been enough grass seeds that has come together that's created a nice carpet. It's quite sparsely grassed. It looks good because it's very, very long at the moment, but it's actually, in fact, not as good as it could be. So it will be a difficult winter. At least this winter we're going to have a lot of water. We have a lot more water this time than we did at the same stage last year. But wasn't that kudu wonderful that it just stayed sitting for us? I think we're going to leave him there and let him admire the sunset. It's a very clever kudu, is gone up and is getting a nice view of that sun going down over those Drakensberg mountains. But that was very, very nice. Like I say, generally the kudus don't spend too much time hanging around. They normally try and find a thicket where they're able to then get away from us, or hide away from us, should I say. So for him just to stand out in the open and allow us such nice views is quite special. I'm going to try one more time to see if I can find any sign of shadow. I'm going to just go past that last den site that she had, because the tracks are not far from there, and maybe, just maybe, you never know, maybe she's took the cub there and we just missed the tracks going back that way. So I'm just going to go and check as a last ditch effort in this dark, gloomy light. Now the other reason I came to Arathusa was to look for the Nkahuma pride, and unfortunately they were chased by elephants, and it seems like they've been chased off Arathusa and into elephant plains, which doesn't suit us at all. So hopefully they'll be back tomorrow. So not much going our way this afternoon, VM. We've had a few technical issues, tracks everywhere, but no reward for our efforts. So hopefully something will change. VM assured me just now that we will be rewarded with something. Sorry, VM, I just see something in a bush there and I'm not sure what it is. Amongst the wattle with a beautiful white flower. I'm actually not sure what that is. So those of you who do take screenshots, if maybe somebody can take a screenshot and send it to me, and I'll try and ID that. It's the first time I've seen a creeper in a wattle like this, and the flower is not fully open, but at least the leaf structure will be able to find out what that is and see exactly what plant is growing through there. Very, very interesting. I've never seen that before on a wattle. That's quite amazing. So the nice thing about having a bit of rain is you get all these random and new little flowers that pop up all over the place, and creepers that grow on the trees. It really is quite something to see. And the amazing part about it is, and what amazes me, is that we had this incredible drought for 2 years where we had very little growth of flowers. And so the seed layers, or seeds, must have been sitting dormant for long periods of time. And when the rain arrived, they were able to germinate and grow. Either that, or these have arrived with birds. But you know, a lot of the birds are territorial in this area, so there's only so many seeds that can arrive. So it always amazes me when you get these droughts and then rain later, how many plants still pop up, even though it's been so difficult and so hard on them with very little water and so much pressure with grazing. It always amazes me. See any signs of shadow coming this way. So this area that we're in is known as the Bee Eater block. So this whole section to our left here is all called the Bee Eater block, and it is a very, very large piece of air or land that's not many roads around it, so it's very, very big inside there and incredibly thick. It is a difficult block to negotiate, and in fact in all my time in this northern sector, every time an animal has gone in here, everybody just gives up and drives away, because it's actually not that easy to drive in there. There are so many fallen over stumps from the elephants, and it's just impossible to actually follow animals. So if Shadow has gone in there, which she has before, there's a termite mound inside here. In fact, 2 termite mounds that she's used for den sites before, and if she's inside there, it's almost impossible to get to them. You've got to, only if you know exactly where they are, and then you've got to be able to slowly negotiate your way through just to go and check them. The best way to actually check them would be on foot, so that you don't disturb the area and make a huge, massive 2-track through there and squash a whole bunch of plants for no reason. But it's turned into a beautiful evening. When we first got going, so Debbie Vancouver, you're asking about birds, and insects, and I'll get to that now, but we've just spotted a bird of our own. So there is a beautiful Wahlberg's eagle. This is one of the last Wahlbergs I think we'll see. I actually haven't seen any for the last few days, so this is probably one of the last before they start heading back north into North Africa and into Russia, as far as Russia. So this bird's got a long way to travel. They come here for our summer to breed, and you'll find that they breed in early summer. So they normally arrive in around August, September, and they're already breeding by October, November. And now most of the chicks will have fledged, and they're starting to then leave and go back north again. Now, the reason I know it's a Wahlberg's eagle is because you can see on top of his head there, he's got a little crest. So that's quite diagnostic for a Wahlberg's eagle. They also have a very long rectangular tail that protrudes off the back, and when they sit, they tend to sit very upright. You can see also that yellow cere that is quite diagnostic for these guys. So back to the question about insects, and are there any insects that thrive throughout winter, and what do the birds that eat insects do in winter if there aren't any? So there are a few insects that are around in winter. There's obviously the termite mounds. So the termites are inside there. They may not be active and on the surface and breeding, and we might not see winged owlets, but the termites are still inside there. So every now and then you'll find them coming up a little bit, and some of the birds will feed off those. There will be lots of ants around. There's the odd millipede that we see, but not too many of them. But what happens with most of our insect eaters that are birds is that they travel north. All right, so most of our migratory birds that are insect eaters, and so as insect production decreases, so those birds then start to fly further north, and they go up towards the equator and then into north, the northern hemisphere, where it's their summer and the insect production is a lot higher. So that's why we get a drastic reduction in the amount of birds in our winter months. But there are still some insects around. We do see some. There's moths, there's a few butterflies that stick around. So there's quite a few that will sustain those insect eaters that are brave enough to stay. Wasn't that sky beautiful behind the Wahlberg's eagle with that belt of Venus? So those colors that you see, those blues and maroons, that's called the belt of Venus, and it comes out as the sun dips behind the horizon. It's always so nice to see animals, or birds should I say, in trees when you have that coloration. It's even better when you have a leopard in a tree and that color is behind it. It's just such a spectacular view. Always makes my day when I have that. So here's to hoping that Shadow will be in a tree here somewhere, and that we will be able to show you that. Just checking all the big trees very, very carefully. Find that leopards at this time of the year, a lot of the leopards, because the grass is so long and there's a lot of insects and it's quite irritating to lie in the grass, they go up into the trees and they spend their time up there. So it's always worth checking in the trees at this time of the year. But talking about the belt of Venus and it's getting darker and the sun setting, it's now starting to get a little bit too dark for the legendary James Henry to be out on foot. So I think let's go to him so that he can say good night and goodbye, and we'll see you all a little bit later.
It is getting dark, but not too bad, and so we're on quarantine. We just did a very long walk up here. David pulled us. He was clearly in need of some sort of sustenance back in the camp, so he was walking right out in front, and Herbert and I were trying desperately to keep up. You know, we're much older than he is. He's from a different generation, really. Anyway, we're nearly home now, and there's a gorgeous sunset in the background there. I'm just trying to think if I can show you one more thing before we say goodbye. Well, I can show you a very beautiful pink flower that is probably an indigophorous species of some sort, and I'm hoping Judy H is watching. I've let her have a pretty easy time of it of late. I haven't asked her a great deal. What do you think this is, Judy H? I don't know. I can't find it in any of my books. It looks a little bit like an indigophorous species, or one of the pea family, but I don't know exactly which pink flower that is. Oh, and it's a lovely evening. We've now got the southeasterly breeze gently blowing towards us. I would suspect the temperature is now, I would say 24 degrees or so, which is about 75-ish. No, it's 27 and 81. That, of course, is palpably untrue because, well, it's my hours. I'm going to have to put this one back because it's got a gorgeous little spider just in there. That black thing is a spider, and it's created this little web, and I've now gone and detached its home from where it was, which wasn't very nice of me. Was it, David? No. I think it's one of the tent web spiders. I'm not sure exactly which one, and I suspect no one is. Right. Well, I think that's going to be it from the bushwalk today. Thank you very much for coming on walk with us. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your questions. I'm sorry we didn't find Shadow, but tomorrow is another day, and on that day at 05:30, I will see you then. Bye-bye.
So we are just trying to see if we can spot a tiny baby little scrub hare that was in the grass here. Now VM spotted it, but we can't see where it's gone, and it was very, very small. So VM says it was a tiny, tiny, tiny little one. So somewhere in those little thickets is a tiny little baby scrub hare. Now, I wonder where its parents are, because they're nowhere to be seen. Although when scrub hares are born, they are born able to move around on their own, much like things like impalas. They're able to move fairly shortly after birth. So somewhere in there, there it is. Look at that. Look at how small that little thing is. It's absolutely tiny. There's its little eye and its ears. Isn't that amazing? You can see the size of the grass. Now that grass is probably, that bunny is probably the size of my hand, if anything, that little scrub hare. Maybe even smaller, like the size of my palm, I would reckon. So it is brand new, I would say, within the last few days that it's been born, which is absolutely amazing. How VM has spotted that, I'm not quite sure. You can see it's very difficult to see. Look at how well that little scrub hare has camouflaged. It is getting dark now, so they are going to start coming out and coming onto the roads and start feeding, but that camouflage is absolutely incredible. Well done, VM. Very, very good. Shame, you can see it's probably quite scared with us being so close. This is a big object that it's probably never seen before, so it's a little bit nervous. So I'm going to carry on. You can see it shaking a little bit, so I don't want to scare it too much. I think I'm going to leave it and let it carry on with life, and hopefully it will survive and become one of the big adults that we see running around. Now, unfortunately for that little one, is going to be a lot of animals out here that are going to try and eat it. So you're going to find the owls are going to be looking for it. There's going to be many small predators like wildcat, serval, you'll find caracals, even leopards will go after a small little scrub hare like that, and lots of snakes as well. So it's going to be a life full of danger in these first few months until it gets a little bit older, and then it should be okay after that. It's amazing though, we're back in the same area where we first found the tracks for Shadow, and the amount of leopard tracks that are here from last night is quite something. There is male tracks all over here, going up and down, female tracks. So there was obviously a leopard party here last night that we weren't invited to, unfortunately, Viam. It would have been nice had they invited us though. I would have loved to have seen them. Oh, nothing that side. Okay, we're going to carry on looking and seeing if there's any sign. Maybe we get lucky and we bump into one of these cats. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see if she's still at Chitwa Dam or if she's on a new quest to find something different.
Tristan, we have indeed moved off. It's got a bit dark at Chitwa Dam now, but guess what? I found that video for you. It was actually a video, it wasn't a voice note that I recorded of the hippos fighting. So we're just going to stop up ahead on the airstrip where I can see another type of a Norman, the Kudu. So we'll have a look at him, and then I shall play you the sound of hippopotamus fighting, which will be quite interesting. I'm sure you'll be excited to hear something like that. I don't know if you've ever heard it before. Oh my goodness, and our zebras. There's so many things. So there's Norman. We'll have a very quick look at him. Hi, Norman. We'll sit here. So we've got zebra on the right and then Norman on the left. So as we look at them, turn your volume up. Are you ready? Because I'm going to play this now for you. And these are two big hippo bulls. They were very sort of equal size, so it was a good challenge. Isn't that incredible? So that is the sound that a hippopotamus makes when it is angry and doesn't want to be seen anymore. But of course that was also a different herd of zebra. But that sound is just unbelievable. And I kid you not, when you hear something like that from the distance, you think that there are dinosaurs on the property and fighting. And I'm sure that most of you will of course agree. But there are lots of impala around. I think everybody's coming to sleep on the airstrip this evening. We're on the Chitwa airstrip. That's not a road. And it's a good spot. The grass is nice and short. The airstrip is open. Yes, there are thick trees on either side, but at least they've got an opportunity to see what's coming towards them. And it's cooling down quite a bit too, which is nice. It's quite pleasant. I don't know how the animals feel about that, because we just go home and we cover ourselves with warm blankets, put a jersey on, a jacket. I suppose these guys, they've got similar equivalent. But I think that we have... Now, Louisa's just given me the temperature, and she says it's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. I really can't believe that for a second. Hey, Eggsy? It doesn't feel like that. I always will challenge the temperatures. And I think James has actually said the same thing. There's no ways that it's 81 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment, 27. It feels as though it's much cooler than that. I would put the temperature, but of course this is just my opinion. The zebra about to come past us now is I would say it's only about 24 degrees, maybe even a little bit less with that, with the chill factor that we now have in the wind. But this isn't the McCurdy herdie, like I said earlier. This is a different herd, but quite a big herd nonetheless. Only one real young foal lurking in the middle. Other than that, the rest of them all look as though they're older than a year. Some impala racing through. They don't want to get left behind. Off they go. They're all meeting up together. That's so funny how the zebra have come from the southern end of the airstrip and are now moving straight towards the big herds of impala. And it's the same thing as what we saw earlier and what you see regularly in front of the dam cam. And you'll see they'll all group up nicely. Come on, zebras, sit down on the ground and have a little snooze. Now, zebras often will sit down and sleep at night. Impala do the same thing, but they don't normally all do it at one go. Because you can imagine if they all decide to sit down and have a siesta, who's watching their back? So you'll often find that there's, I wouldn't say a lookout. I think it's just a zebra or an impala or a wildebeest or somebody that's not quite ready to go to sleep yet and just sort of keeping an eye out on everybody. But they don't sleep for long. Maybe a half an hour here, an hour there. The youngsters, the young foals and the young impala lambs will definitely sit down and have a good sleep. But the adults, they don't need too much rest. And I always feel that zebra have a good siesta during the day too, when I think they feel a little bit safer. I definitely would not want to be an animal out in the middle of the night in the African wilderness. I think it must be one of the most intimidating, it is one of the most intimidating things I've ever done, is spend 24 hours alone on a reserve by myself, in total darkness, with just a torch, no fire, nothing, and sort of a safe escape. Very, very scary. Now I don't know how I'd feel about doing something like that now that I'm a little bit wiser, because when I did that, I hadn't even finished my training course yet to become a guide. It was one of the requirements that this particular training school that I studied with wanted us to do. It was really great character building. I definitely learned a lot about myself in that. That was quite nice. But isn't that just a lovely shot? But I think we're going to have to leave these chaps now. The light is becoming very, very much dim. It's becoming difficult to even make out the stripes on a zebra. Oh, is that a tumbleweed? How funny is that? Now, I don't know exactly if it is a tumbleweed, whether it's something that the elephants have pulled out of the ground, and now it's just blowing, creating a very much a western scene here with all the zebra. Lovely. Isn't that just a stunning view? Clear skies tonight, not a cloud to be seen. But let's go across to Tristan and see if he's having any more luck with tracking the spotted cats.
Unfortunately not, Taylor. No luck whatsoever. I'm having about as much luck as I'm having with tech issues on Wendy today. So, not very much at all. It's been a trying day to say the least. And we seem to have followed so many footprints this morning. I think tonight when I close my eyes, all I'm going to see is leopard tracks. Stephen, you're wondering if Shadow has ever raised a cub to independence. Well, this is a debatable subject because theoretically, yes, she's raised one, which is Sindile. So he is still alive and still well, and I know he was seen a few weeks ago, not too far from here, and he was looking very, very good. But theoretically, she didn't complete the raising of that cub. She did get him to a year old, but he ate that rabid dog and was then sent away to be able to be treated. Had it been in an area where we hadn't seen that dog being eaten, then it potentially could have meant that he would have died and he would have not survived, and therefore she wouldn't have raised a cub. But we'll give her the benefit of the doubt since she's had such bad luck, and we'll give it to her, which would mean that yes, she's raised one cub, which is Sindile, out of about the 4 million litters that she's had. Unfortunately, she's really struggled. I reckon if I see these cubs, it will easily be probably my 12th or 13th litter that I've seen of Shadows, which is, it's just ridiculous. It's a seriously high number. To not have raised one successfully is quite scary. So I'm just going to stop here because it's quite a beautiful view to our west of the skyline, and there's some beautiful colors that are illuminating the western skyline. Unfortunately from here you can't see the Drakensberg mountains. There's also a bank of cloud over them at the moment, but isn't that pretty? Now, wouldn't it be nice if Shadow was draped over the branches of that tree? That would make my day. Alas, she isn't, but it is still quite a view, that. Like I say, the colors tonight are really quite beautiful. You've got these deep sort of blues starting in the evening, and then it's coming down into these maroons and purples, and right on the mountain range, the yellows where the sun is going down, you can actually see fingers of light from the sun illuminating as well. So very, very, very pretty way to end the day, that's for sure. Also a bit of a breeze coming up. I wonder if we're maybe not going to get a little storm. I see these clouds developing on the horizon, and when we got going this afternoon I was actually a bit concerned because on the eastern side there was lots of big cumulonimbus clouds, which often is a sign of a thunderstorm, but it seems that they got blown away and they are no longer anywhere near us, and that's probably good news. But I feel the wind has come up again, and maybe that's going to bring in those clouds off the west. The thing is that we don't normally get too much rain from the western side. Our rain comes from the southeast. That's normally where we get the big rain from. So all the time we're driving here, I am still looking for any tracks for Shadow. It's this time of the day that leopards often get moving and start to carry on, especially if she spent the day with a cub. Now she might be going out to look for any signs of food. So it's a good time to be driving around and just making sure there's no signs of her again. I am going to go past where James had her this morning, just to do a final look there in case she pops out in the road somewhere there. It might happen, it might not, who knows. We've got to give ourselves the best possible luck that we can. Like I was saying just now, I reckon tonight I'll dream of leopard tracks. I think I've seen tracks for, I don't even know how many leopards today. We've seen tracks for Tingana, for Shadow, her cub, Quarantine. There was old tracks for Karula at one point. So quite a number of different footprints, but we have not actually seen too much in the way of the actual animals, which goes like that sometimes. It's all put here to make you appreciate when you do find them. It always feels so much more rewarding when you've struggled for a few days and you spend lots of time searching and scouring and tracking and trying to find these animals using their footprints in these thick, dense bush areas, and then the luck changes and you manage to track one down, or you get one on the road and you get rewarded with a beautiful sighting of one of them. It really is a satisfying feeling, and one that you feel as though you've earned the right to see this elusive cat at the end of the day, which is quite special. So I believe this is where James saw Shadow this morning. He said to me about 200 meters south of the transformer, which is exactly where we are now. And actually you can see his vehicle tracks where they went off, which is right there. So I shall be paying very close attention to what's going on. I think I'll also get my spotlight out now, because it's starting to get quite dark. So Lauren, this is a great debate, and it's a question that's been asked a few times and we've discussed many times in the camp, and it's all to do with why Shadow has really battled so much with cubs as opposed to Karula, who's got the neighboring territory effectively, who's been so successful with hers. And quite frankly, I think it's twofold. I think Karula is obviously in some way got a better recipe, so she's utilizing better areas for her cubs, so she's putting them in safer places. She also has a better territory, and it sounds odd because you would think, why would it be better when they're side by side? But she's in an area where generally over the course of her life there has been a dominant male that has been the core part of his territory, has been her territory. So whereas Shadow seems to find herself always on the fringes of multiple males, so she tends to be on the fringe of now Tingana and Anderson. Prior to that, Mvula and Tingana. Before that, it was Mafufanyan and Mvula. Prior to that, it was Mafufanyan and Jordan. So she's had really a tough time to be able to keep her cubs alive because she's had so much pressure from the male leopards. That, coupled with the fact that where she is, she's in the boundary between two different clans of hyenas, two big clans of hyenas. So she's got the Djuma clan on one side, and then on the western side of her is the EP clan, and they are massive, and so they put a lot of pressure on her. And then, of course, obviously there's the lions that are around that often spend a lot of time in the same areas that she does, and so that's part of the problem. And then I think sometimes she just chooses really bad spots. So
Right, sorry about that. It seems like there was a bit of a technical difficulty there with Tristan's camera, but I'm sure that VM will get that sorted in a jiffy. So we've just left blind all the birds that are on the road catching the insects. Sorry birdies, these are not nocturnal birds. They so unfortunately we can't put a spotlight on them. There they go, up they get. So left Chitwa now.
So sorry about that. We had a slight battery issue. It's this bumpy road that we're on. It just bumped the battery off and made an error message saying that it was incompatible. So VM, the maestro when it comes to these things, fixed it very, very quickly. So that's all good. So I was saying with Shadow, I think she just ends up in bad places too. She seems to keep utilizing these drainage pipes and storm drain pipes, which now the last time she used it was just prior to Nat.Geo, the big tropical storm that developed in the Gulf between Madagascar and South Africa, and that whole system flooded in the end of the day. So she basically ended up in a situation where she's put her cubs in a place where it flooded, so maybe that's where the one was lost. Who knows? Nobody saw the two after that. It's only been the one. Everybody was blaming the Nkuhumas for a while. Thank you, Patrick. And they all said it was the Nkuhuma's fault, but in actual fact it could have been that they were left in one of those drain pipes and the rain comes down and unfortunately only one cub gets out and the other one can then possibly drown. It does happen. I have seen it before. So I think that's the thing, is that she's just, it's a combination of factors. She's got a lot to deal with from a number of different predators. She's in a bad section because the male leopards all seem to have their boundary territories in her area. That, coupled with the fact that she tends to choose bad sections for her cubs, has meant that she's been very unsuccessful, whereas Karula tends to be the other way. She tends to find areas that are very difficult for anybody to get to. She tends to use the dens that are in the core of her territory, in the core of a male's territory. I actually noticed this year that her den site changed slightly. So in the past, Karula always used to use around Vuyatela Lodge. She used the lodge quite a few times with Shavinzi and Shavambalana. They were around Vuyatela pretty much permanently in the camp. Now with Djuma being to the north and Mvula out and Tingana spending more time south in Little Gowrie and Chitwa and those areas, these cubs spent a lot more time in southern Djuma and in Little Gowrie. So she's shifted those young ones into an area where she knows that that male is going to be dominant, and it's going to be very unlikely for another male to enter that territory without this big male that is the father that's going to protect that area. So she's a little bit more sharp and savvy when it comes to those. Whereas Shadow, unfortunately, like I say, doesn't seem to notice those changes and those subtleties, and that's why I think there's a bit of a difference between the two of them. It does happen. You get females that are really great mothers, and then you get other females that are unfortunately not very good mothers at all, and it does happen. I mean, if you look, Thandi is her sister, so I mean, Thandi has been fairly successful. She raised Shivambalana until he was on his own. I mean, not Shivambalana, sorry, Wabayiza, until he was on his own, and then he was unfortunately killed by the sticks, but he was already a cub that had gone off, so you can't count that against Thandi. That's happened after she's bred again. And then, you know, she's had Kuchava, and now she's got Tamba, so she's done quite well. She's actually managed to find herself and Bohuti as well. I forgot about Bohuti. That was a while ago. I wonder where he ended up. So she's done really well. I mean, she's raised 4 cubs then, compared to Shadow, which just shows you that it's not a genetic thing. It's just a area thing, as well as certain females just have the knack to be able to find refuge for the cubs. I remember Thandi also having most of the cubs that she's had. So most of the males that she's had that have survived, in fact, Kuchava I think is the only female that she's had survive. Most of them had a sibling. So she had 2 in most of those, and unfortunately for her, she lost one of those cubs pretty much every single litter. Isn't that spectacular of him with the light? So look at those little fingers of light that are illuminating off the western horizon. Very, very nice. You can see a few lights flickering. Those are the communities right on the western edge of the reserve. So up against the mountain and between the reserve, those are those lights there. And the beautiful Mariepskop with that orange glow behind it, isn't that spectacular? That is the far northern tip of the Drakensberg mountain range, which is the longest mountain range in South Africa. So that is where it actually ends, quite funny enough. So very, very spectacular view. So I feel sorry for Shadow. I think it's just been a tough time for her, and you know, unfortunately she's probably, in all likelihood, if this cub doesn't do very well or she loses this one, she probably will only have another maybe 1 or 2 cracks at cubs. So it's not going to be very easy for her. She's really going to struggle, and I hope in some way that this cub manages to get older and survives, and she can then move on to the next one. And maybe she'll have learned valuable lessons from all those ones that have died in the past, and she's now able to learn from her mistakes and find better areas. But so far the evidence seems like she hasn't, because she hasn't. It definitely looks like she's lost one. Today when I was looking at those tracks, there is only tracks for 1 cub. There's no tracks for 2, so I don't think that second one is still alive. Who and how it got killed is a huge debate. I don't think anyone will actually have the real answer for that. And like I say, to blame the Nkuhumas is probably not fair, because that cub hasn't been seen since James saw it. So since James saw the 2 together, I don't think there's been another sighting of those 2. So it could be a number of factors. It could have been hyenas, it could have been lions, it could have been one of the Birminghams, it could have been the flood, like I say, that came through those drainage lines. It's anyone's guess. James, this is an interesting question, and one that I've probably not given too much thought before, but I'll try and think about it. You're wondering which leopard cub I've spent the most amount of time with. Well, let's think about this. Tiani must be one of them, just because I got to see her so much. She was born at Simambili at the lodge, and when she was very young we used to see her from the camp almost daily. So I spent a lot of time with Tiani. Sorry, I just want to check these tracks here quickly. Those are for hyenas. So she's probably one of them. Wabayiza, I spent lots and lots and lots and lots of time with Wabayiza. Just trying to think who else. It's difficult because they've all become adults now, so I suppose what quantifies a cub and an adult. Just trying to think who else. Scotia's cub down at Lion Sands in Zilo. spent a lot of time with them, with her, should I say. Who else? That's probably the 3 that I've spent the most time with. They were all the cubs that kind of were born at the start of my time at the various lodges, so managed to spend quite a long time with them. I mean, there was Induna, Mishu, Shivambalana, Shavinzi that I saw regularly as well, that are older, and then, you know, Wabiyiza as well, he got older, and you start to follow them as adults as well, so I spent quite a bit of time with them. Who else? That's it, I would say. Those are probably the ones that I've spent the most time with. In terms of time with the leopard, though, that would be quite interesting. I actually wonder which one I've spent the most time with. It would probably be a toss-up between Tundi, Mvula, Tingana, Scotia in the south, and Salehesh, Intima. So quite a few, actually, that I spent long periods of time with. But I'll try to think of exactly which one for you, James. And while I do this thinking, because I'm getting older in life and my brain is not as powerful as it used to be, let's go across to Taylor and see if she's using her brain power to find something yet right.
Did Tristan just say his brain power is not as strong as what it used to be? Tristan, is that because you're moving on with age now? And I always give the boys, I tease them lots, particularly Brent, because I think he's the most sensitive about aging, because I'm of course the young whippersnapper in the team. So you always need, they tease me about everything else, and I think that's the only thing that I can tease the boys with, is the fact that they're not so young anymore. But anyways, we love them to bits, and that's what I love about this team, is that we all give each other just as much banter, and it's so much fun. It makes for such a good laugh. And the only person that I don't give banter to is, I think, Eggsy, because he's my favorite. He's my favorite out of everybody in the whole Wild Earth team. Eggsy says I can't have favorites. Well, I'm telling you right now. I'm just teasing. I think I like everybody all the same. We'll just let you think about that one. Nah, I'm only teasing. After drive, it's always fun talking about the most ridiculous things that people did. Final control ladies are always poking fun of us. So yeah, but we're bumbling. We haven't found anything just yet. We changed our route slightly, and I thought that I would go on a bit of a leopard search myself. Now, I have absolutely no idea where Karula is. I don't think anybody knows where she is at the moment. I know that her cubs were last seen in Little Gowrie, not too far from Baboon Pan. So I went up Cheetah Cut Line, and then I jumped onto Mamba, because often we found her between Cheetah Cut Line, Mamba, Drakensberg and Twin Dams. She very much enjoys this area for hunting. I mean, I can see why. It's really ideal for a leopard. You've got the drainage system to move along on, long grass and lots of shrubs, and there are constantly Impala, bushbuck and Inyala moving around in these spots. So the game density is high, so her chances of catching something are actually really good. And as Tristan was saying earlier, Karula has really got amazing hunting skills. She's a great leopard. So we've got a request now from Lauren, who is asking if I could please find her a bush baby. Lauren, I shall do my very, very best. However, I don't think that this is the greatest area for bush babies. So what we're going to do is, once we manage to get off of this very bumpy road, we'll head down Twin Dams and sort of start making our way towards the lodge, towards Weirtilla Lodge. We have seen a couple of bush babies bounding around before. Oh no, now there's a competition as to who can find the first bush baby. Eggsy, pressure is on. Pressure is on, so we'll keep trying. I'm so competitive today. Oh, Eggsy's now just egged me on. So funny. He said no, and I'll do his voice as well. He said, let's do this, Taylor. I don't think you actually sound like that, Eggsy, but your voice is just a lot deeper than mine. Right, so we need to find lots of big trees then. That's supposed to be particularly that came out. Knob thorns. I don't know why they like to utilize the cavities in knob thorns. But maybe if we find them here. I've babies along. I just smell. I think there's gremlins here. Louise has told me to sit still. Louise, can I please have that question again?
Well, welcome back. I believe we're challenging each other to a bush baby contest. So Lauren, you've asked to see a bush baby, and now it is a race between Taylor and I. And since Taylor was laughing at me about my brain power, I think I need to prove her wrong, that I am capable and that I do have still something between my ears and am able to spot a bush baby. So I shall try my very best to see if I can find something here. This particular area that we're in, I'm not going to find anything because this is a big open grassland and bush babies are not going to be seen here. But where we're going is bush baby central, so I'm going to hope that there are some bush babies hanging around on Ruatella access. There's lots and lots and lots of silver cluster leaf, which is one of the trees bush babies absolutely love. So that's where I'm going to try and see if I can win the race. Hopefully Taylor doesn't find something before I get there, because I won't hear the end of it. She will give me trouble for it, and she will tell me that she has won for long periods, and I don't want that. So I need to try my best. I still haven't lived down Brent beating me at the bird challenge, so I still hear about that. I don't need another one telling me that I lost. So hopefully there will be one here. Edward, you are asking, what is a bush baby? Well, it is a nocturnal primate. It is very, very small, so it's only about this big, and it lives in the trees. And we find it only at night, because during the day it spends its time tucked away in little holes in the tree, and that's because there's too many predators during the day, too many birds of prey that could potentially hunt them. So they come out at night, and then they jump from tree to tree to try and find food. They'll either eat insects or they will go after the sap of trees. So they come in, they actually bite the tree, and then they leave it, and they come back the next day and the sap has started to run, and then they feed off all that sugary sap. And they are very odd looking things. They very small, very fluffy, long tail and very big eyes so that they can see at night. They are such interesting looking little creatures. So I really hope we can find one for you as well, Eric, so that you can see what they look like. They also have these amazing ability to jump. Sorry, Edward. Sorry. Edward. But like I say, they have an amazing ability to jump and move around, and they can explode out of trees and go quite big distances. So it's quite amazing to watch them. Alas, none so far. Like I say, where we are now is not the best area for them. Rickard, interesting. It's a raging debate, and there's always people that will argue both sides. But in my experience, and I'm sure in James and Taylor's experience, night drives produce less results. So yes, if you know that there's lions that are lying here and you're going to spend the night with them and follow them around, then you'll have an amazing experience because you'll be with them and you can follow them. But in terms of diversity, you find at night far less. So there's a certain number of animals that during the nighttime hours are not going to be seen. They're going to try and find areas to rest and to avoid being preyed upon. Also, things like lion and leopard, everybody always thinks that the whole night they're running around chasing things. It's not actually the case. A lot of the time, lions and leopards during the middle period of the night are actually resting. Their peak activity periods are now around sunset and then again in the morning at sunrise. So night drives are difficult because you're also limited by your field of view to a small spotlight that shines around, and you're trying to spot things with that. And if you don't manage to get any eyes, you often miss things. So your sort of amount of animals that you see is less during a night drive, but you can see some amazing things. That's the nice thing about night drives, is that you can see things that you can't see during the day. So you can see civets, you can see servals, wildcats, caracals, owls, aardvarks, pangolins, all these animals that tend to spend far more time moving around at night. You have the opportunity to possibly bump into one of those, and that's why night drives are the way that they are. And then for us, if we have cats that are actively moving and hunting, then we obviously, that is a big plus for us too. So we'll often use those hours to follow them and see if they get up to any activity. Right, now I'm still looking for my bush baby, and we've come into the area where they are normally around, and Taylor is still going, so let's go across and see if maybe she's had any luck, or if she's still searching, and who actually gets this bush baby first.
We're still searching. We're definitely still searching. But just to carry on with that conversation you were having about nighttime versus daytime, I definitely agree with Tristan. You see a lot more in the early morning. However, sometimes night drives can be spectacular, but I'm sure, and again, another conversation you can have with Tristan, the amount of hours that, well, more to Tristan because he's been guiding for a lot longer than I have, that we've spent out in the middle of the night searching for things, and the chances of you actually finding something is really, really slim. But then again, I've also had I've had about 3 really, really spectacular night drives where you've gone and you've seen hippos, lions on the hunt, owls, jennets, and porcupine and aardvark and things like that. But a drive like that that's action-packed is actually quite rare. I haven't had a night drive like that in a very long time. We had some good ones during the Mara though, where we got to see interesting white-tailed mongoose. We were also seeing lots of owls and scorpions and all those things that come out at night, which is quite nice. So I think if you want to do something really cool, is go out about 2 hours before the sun comes up and do a long, very early morning safari. I always find the last couple of hours before the sun rises are the most active. Well, it seems to be when the animals are most active. But I do not know where these bush babies are this evening. They're definitely giving us the slip. And normally seen a couple of bush babies around here. We're actually coming up past the dam now, which will be just on our right. I'm trying to think where we're going to go now, Eggsy, to find a bush baby. Okay, let's go down past the dam. You know where we will go is we'll go towards the shortcut, Galago shortcut, and go and check there, because there's plenty of little wooded areas that would make perfect hidey holes for bush babies. So we'll try that side. We just need to try and get there as quick as we can, of course, because we are unfortunately running out of time for the sunset safari. We'll give it a bash. Right, nothing here just yet. Going past the dam, going past the dam. You should see me on the dam cam now, all my lights. Must look like a Christmas tree. Check around here. This is also be a nice place for a genet. But sadly, no genet just yet. Oh no, I think it's actually now Tristan is now racing me to get to Galago shortcut, so we better pick. Oh, we're going to be stalled because we've got a chameleon. Pesky chameleon. Look at that. What a nuisance. How much of a nuisance is this right now? If only this chameleon knew, well done Eggsy, that we are looking for, well, bush babies instead of these guys. But I'm sure you all aren't complaining that we've spotted this one, and it's actually quite a large flap-necked chameleon. He's quite big and his eyes are moving around quite vigorously, searching for, I'm sure, a tasty treat. Maybe a nice big grasshopper, maybe I don't know, some sort of a bug. You know what I wish though, is I wish that chameleons would come and eat all the stink bugs that are around camp, because they're a real nuisance. They're more of a nuisance than this chameleon stopping us from finding a bush baby. Hello. I love the way that they're able to move their eyes around, looking back at us now. Look at that. Holding on for dear life as well as the wind gusts. It's the most amazing thing how chameleons are able to just latch onto a branch, and it's almost impossible to try and get them to come off, using that prehensile tail as well as a fifth appendage to hold on tight. But otherwise, those feet do the job very well at holding on to those branches. Doesn't look very happy though. Looks particularly grumpy this evening, and I can't imagine why. Maybe it's because of the wind, because I can't find a perch that is still. Oh, chameleon, I'm so sorry that you're not having a great time this evening. Right, I think we're going to leave this chameleon because I do want to try and find a bush baby, and we are so close, so close to Gallagher shortcut. We're just on Mvubu Road now, and actually as we head into the dip off Mvubu Road, that drainage system that runs from Chitwa Dam, we might be lucky. We're just not blind this bronze-wing courser. Sorry, birdie. We'll have a quick look again because there's lots and lots of knobthorn. Over a branch we go that the elephants have deposited kindly. Okay, Eggsy, bush baby eyes on. Have you got them ready? Yep, good. Don't know what bush baby eyes are, but we'll just have them just in case. Whew, I almost just had a heart attack. I thought, hang on, what is up there? No, that's a bird. Is it a bird or is it a chameleon? Eggsy, can you see what I'm looking at? What's shining? In the top, I just want to have a quick look. Something is on this branch. Where is it? Is it another chameleon? It is too. Oh my goodness, a second chameleon for the night. That is, I kid you not, about double the size of the chameleon we've just seen. I thought initially it was a bird. I really thought it was a turtle dove or a woodland kingfisher that was perhaps gripping tight onto that branch. That would be the size of my hand, if not even a little bit bigger. And again, good spotting from Eggsy, because I was going to struggle to even try and guide him into that one. Fantastic. So there we go, 2 chameleons for this evening. We're going to keep searching, hopefully, for a bush baby, and maybe we'll beat Tristan. Let's go across to him and see how his search is doing.
Well, we've given up on the bush baby for now because we're playing with some new toys. So Wiem has mounted an infrared light. So what you are seeing there is a zebra in complete darkness. Now, if I have to look with my naked eye, I cannot see that zebra at all. And we've got an infrared light that is on and an infrared filter that is able to then pick up that light. Now, the advantage of this is because we want to use this technology going forward in both the Masai Mara and here, is that we can watch animals without impeding their nocturnal behavior. So if it is something like zebras or impalas, you would find that during the day, or normally at night, we would never shine a spotlight on them because the spotlight is quite harmful to their eyes and it can end up causing blindness for a few minutes, and then if a predator is around, that could potentially mean that that poor animal gets killed. So we don't like using spotlights, but this infrared light is at a wavelength that doesn't affect the vision of us or the animal. You actually can't see this light, and so we can watch them and be able to see them without giving them any ill effects whatsoever. And it's amazing that we'll be able to get into the lives of these animals during the night and see what they actually get up to, because a lot of it is undocumented. We don't know what zebras do all night long or what the cats do, and so, or little things like mongooses or genets or these nocturnal creatures that come out, and this allows us to be able to do that without disturbing them. You can see, if I had a spotlight on and I shined it at these animals, they'd probably try and move away from that light, but these zebras and impalas, they are not worried at all. They're going about their evening feeding, and the McCurdy-hurdy is going to be very happy that we can still view them even in the dead of night. Isn't that incredible? It's amazing what technology is out there these days. It really, really amazes me. And it's so nice just to sit in complete darkness. That's probably the best thing about this, is that you sit in complete darkness. It's a much more eerie feel. Now I can imagine if I'm sitting here and there was lions hunting, it would be quite an atmosphere that we would have, but yet we would still be able to see, which would make it really, really, really quite something. So it's really exciting times, and it's going to be amazing to see what we can get with this, and hopefully we'll get some of the cats that will show up in the next few days and we can really test it out and see how they move through these thickets and long grass areas without having to use a light and actually follow them. Really, really amazing stuff. Well done, Vim. Very, very nice. Now, let's see if maybe we can pull a rabbit out the hat and beat Taylor with this bush baby right at the end of drive. We already pulled a rabbit out the hat. I agree. I agree, Vim. We've done IR, which is more than what Taylor's done, so I agree. Oh, we found the rabbit too. We did. We found the scrub here. Well done, Vim. Now the cat's out the bag. Ooh, it's very witty tonight, Vim. Very, very witty. Okay, well, let's go back to Taylor, who's still sitting with her chameleon that's giving her the evil eye. And it's probably because us South Africans are very competitive with Australians, and the chameleon is giving the same evil eye that I'll give Taylor if she gets a bush baby before me.
Well, Tristan, I have to let you know, this is not the same chameleon we were sitting with. This is chameleon number 3 for the Sunset Safari. Isn't that cool? The 21st of March 2017, we're going to try and hit an all-time new record. Let's keep going, seeing as though we're going to try and I'm now convinced I'm not going to see a bush baby tonight, but that's fine. We'll try and break a record for myself. So the most I've ever seen in chameleons in one night is 3. Let's see if we can quickly break that spell and get to 4, maybe even 5. There seem to be a lot of them around. It's the perfect temperature for chameleons at the moment. Now, Tristan, you were talking about infrared, of course, sitting with the McCurdy hurdy, and how beautiful it is and tranquil to sit in the middle of the night. I have to disagree completely with you. The reason why I enjoy IR so much, and there are a couple of scrub hairs running around, but they're having a nervous breakdown because of the lights. We'll just not scare them, we'll turn them off, is the fact that when you sit in the darkness, you do not get the bugs in your eyes or in your mouth. That is my favorite thing about infrared, which is really nice. Come on, Eggsy, are you looking for chameleons? This is a good spot. Who knows, maybe we get a chameleon and a bush baby in one go. A chameleon riding a bush baby. Yes, I think that could top the cake of the Mfumo sighting, that male lion with the chameleon in his mane that Evia had. Let's see. Chameleon, chameleon, where are you? Chameleon, chameleon, we want to see you. I don't know if we're going to do it, Eggsy. Can we get one more? What? Come on. Corsa? Now I'm trying to concentrate as great as I can, because for me this would be a huge achievement to get 4 chameleons this evening. And you know, I don't know if we are, but you've just got to keep positive. My eyes are so wide open at the moment, I'm petrified that an insect is going to fly into them. But I'll risk it. I'll risk it for all of you and force it to try and break my record. Come on, chameleon, come on, chameleon. And if we see a bush baby, that'll be a bonus. My goodness, that was an antlion that tried to attack me. Searching. No, Louise is saying that we've got 40 seconds to go. No, 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 don't say these things. Extend the show, extend the show. For the chameleon. Right, where is it really? Got 30 seconds left. Will we do it, Eggsy? Will we? Oh no. Sadly, it doesn't look like we are winning with the chameleon. I'm going to keep driving slowly just in case I spot one. But it has been a fantastic safari. A pity no cats, but hopefully they'll be around for the sunrise safari tomorrow morning. From all of us, a big thank you. We'll see you soon.